What's up, profitable stylists? Here we go. Bernard is not going to be in this week. He is already in North Carolina. We are going to be having our hair show. It's called Hair Now. It's the American Hair Loss Council annual show. We had Janine Farrow from the American Hair Loss Council 2 weeks ago. So check out that interview with her. She goes into a lot more detail about becoming a member for the American Hair Loss Council organization and also what it takes to attend these shows. Bernard and I will be going live a couple of times throughout this weekend as well too. So I wanted to do a couple of things about why shows are important. It feeds right into what we talked about a little bit of last week and the week before as well. Education is the thing that drives us forward. All right. Without education, forget about it. You have no idea what you're doing. You're just lost. And this is where a lot of people's fear generates from. And between Bernard and I talking, each week as we do, you guys hear me say this all the time. Being nervous is okay. It keeps you sharp. It makes you remember all the steps. You start remembering all kinds of things in your memory bank that you didn't realize you knew or you had forgotten about and just didn't realize you forgot about it. When you're scared, you just can't move forward. You're crippled. It invokes that fight or flight response, yeah? And that sucks. That really, really sucks, and it's very unfortunate. The shows is what brings us together. It gives you the opportunity to see something in real time. It gives you a different level of energy. Watching videos is great, and watching videos is important. The thing with videos is, unless it's a live thing like this, it's edited. They're going to cut out all the goofs, all the mistakes. They're going to show you the good bits, and they're going to hope that they're showing it in the best light possible. The thing with going to live events is sometimes you'll be walking by and you'll hear an audience member say something that wasn't necessarily said on stage, and it triggers a thought, and you're like, wow, that's actually really cool. You'll be in some downtime while the presenter, look, there's been plenty of times where I've been on stage, I'm going through my presentation, and what I'm talking about is getting ahead of what I'm actually doing, or rather, what I'm doing on the model is taking longer than what I'm actually saying in my presentation. So I'm actually getting ahead of myself. What ends up happening is you start interacting with the audience, or you just stop talking for a minute, or you just start doing live commentary on what it is you're actually doing. It's like growing up watching Bob Ross paint, and he'd just be talking, and then he'd be talking about what he's doing, and then he'd start telling a story, and then he'd go back to talking about what he's doing again. And you don't realize sometimes those little bits of downtime, those improvised moments that we are doing, it means the world to the audience, even to us. Sometimes I'll be improvising and I'll be just buying myself some time. And in my own head, I'm like, wow, that's actually a great idea. I got to put that in the back of my mind for later, note to self type of thing, because it's you just never know where a good idea comes from. And that's what the whole thing is about, right? So with things starting to open up again, people are apt to come in more often. They're wanting live education. I'm actually getting a ton of more requests for live education, whether it's at our studio in Elgin, whether it's just, bigger events where we host them, throughout, well, for me, the Chicagoland area, for Bernard, down in Louisiana, so down in New Orleans area. People are starting to request to come in more hands-on and more live. And what a great opportunity that is, because when you have groups, like I was in a salon a couple weeks back doing a presentation. Again, it was just a question was asked. I was doing a live Q&A. A question was asked, and instead of just me answering it directly like a quick Google search would do, I presented it to the rest of the group. And as a group, we started doing like a think tank session and we started bouncing ideas off of each other. The answer that came for the stylist was actually way more in depth than what I would have answered. And what we discovered is the question that the stylist was asking wasn't even the actual question that she had in mind. It wasn't until we dug a little bit deeper into it and we turned it into a conversational topic that we actually discovered the reason why she was asking that question was actually an issue that she was having that she didn't realize was her actual problem. And that was the question that she should have been asking to begin with. So with that said, there is a number of different shows and a number of different opportunities. All right. You've got look and learns. Now, look and learns or show and tells, however they're called, are basically you come, you sit, and you watch. The presenter is doing a demonstration, whether they're doing it with a live model, a mannequin head, or they're using a PowerPoint, whatever the materials that are being used to do the demo, it's a live demonstration and you get to actually sit there and watch in real time something happen. And then usually afterwards, there's a question and answer segment. There's a meet and greet. However they're called, everybody calls them something a little bit different. But what it comes down to is it gives you the opportunity to have live interaction with the presenter and ask questions. Those are really nice. They're usually shorter formats and they're usually smaller groups as well. They could be bigger groups, but usually they're smaller groups. What a great opportunity to be able to sit in a controlled environment and really get good information and details about something, so some topic that you attended for. Then you've got the smaller live shows, and smaller live shows means they're usually less than 100 people. So it could be anywhere from 10 to 100 people, okay? And you're presenting a technique or you're presenting an educational topic, a very deep dive specific educational topic that usually comes along with some technique as well too. Or you're just showing the technique itself and you're doing a deep dive on the technique itself. Now, those are amazing to go to as well because it creates such a nice vibe. It's such a nice energy. They're usually some kind of, not study hall, what do you call lecture hall. They're usually some kind of lecture hall setup, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a smaller group or if you're up there. Like I was doing a presentation for 90 people in one of these, specifically what I'm remembering right now. It was specifically for hair coloring application techniques. And it was doing it on towel dried hair, damp hair. So one side of the room, they kept saying, how are you doing wet hair? The other side of the room kept saying, no, it's towel dried. The people in the middle we just kept asking for more paper. I don't understand how they were writing so fast, but, and I don't understand how the thing just kind of it evolved, right? The one side of the room became like-minded. The one side of the room became like-minded. The middle side of the room became the middle of the room became like-minded. And it just created this amazing energy and everybody was bouncing off of each other. It was really, really great because during the break, we let everybody out. Some people went to the washroom. Some people went and got a drink real quick. A lot of people were hanging around in the lobby area, and a lot of other people were hanging around with me inside the room. They never left the room with me. They were just started talking and they started asking questions. They started bouncing ideas. I left the room for a moment while they were looking at we had a live model. So they were talking to the live model. They were looking through her hair. And I ran out of the room real quick into the lobby just to grab another thing of water. And as I'm walking through the crowd, people, hi, how are you? Thank you. Okay, whatever. But I'm listening. and they're still talking about the event, and they're talking about it with each other, and they're trying to discover what they got out of it or what they're getting out of it so far and what they're hoping to get out of it. So it's really fun. That energy is really fun because you're bringing different people together for different mindsets from different salons. They're all in the same industry. They're all talking about, clients. They're all talking about the technique. They're all talking about the day. It's sharing information, and it's just a grand old time of education, right? There's even been events where you've got more than 100 people. You got 400 or 500 people. You've got 1,000 to 2,000 people. Huge stadium audiences. And we've been on stage for those too. That energy is absolutely amazing as well, because half of it is like, well, not half of it. Some of it's some stand-up comedy. You just have to keep the audience energy up there, right? Some of it is a little bit of motivational speaking. And again, you just got to keep the energy up there. But man, the presentation that you're putting on, mentally, it puts you in that energy level where I need to present to this huge audience, and I cannot lose this crowd. I got to capture 2/3 of this crowd. And I keep saying 2/3, everybody always wants to get the whole audience. The reality is 1/3 of the people just don't care, or they're just not going to like you, or they're not going to like what they see, or they're going to think they've seen it already. A third of the audience is just a wash, unfortunately. Another third of the audience, they always love everything they're seeing because those are the most motivated people. They want to learn the most things. They want to be on top of the trends, the current trends. They want to be on the most current information with everything. They want to go back to the salon and tell their clientele, this is what's new. This is what's happening. I finally figured out what's going on with you. This is what's wrong with your hair. And this is what you've been complaining about. So then you always got that middle third that they're there. They either had very low expectation or they had some level of expectation that they're hoping they discover during the event, right? And then depending on how the presentation goes and depending on how the audience energy level goes, it's going to sway them one ways or another. It's either going to take them negative and they're just going to shut their minds off and they're just not going to get anything out of it, or they're going to go positive and they're going to get into that hype and they're going to get super excited. They're going to want to learn all of these different things, and take it back to the salon with them too. So it doesn't matter what level of show there is, there's always something to be learned, right? Now, I'm not mentioning the major hair shows because, yeah, well, you know what? I should mention them. That's fair too. Those are usually, you have, there's just 100 booths going on. It looks like a freaking bazaar. And it's just, you can't even get through the aisles because there's so many people. You got 20, 30 stages all going at the same time. It's an hour segment. Some stages do a half-hour segment, but usually they're about an hour segment. And they just, everybody's trying to out audio level, out volume level the other person and trying to get the most attention and the most crowd as people are walking through the aisles. That's a whole nother level of excitement. That's a whole nother level of energy. But the reason why I didn't want to mention it for a second is because those were usually trying to get somebody excited to buy something straight away in the moment. But at the same time, now that I'm talking it through and I'm thinking about it, that is another level of education. Because you don't know that live audience walking through the aisles. You don't know. They're going to stand there for a minute, for 5 minutes. They're going to stand there for the whole hour and watch you. You don't know how long they're going to watch you for. So you actually have to be repeating a lot of your segment. You got to be repeating a lot of talking points. But at the same time, you still have to, you're doing a model. You're doing a technique. You got to keep it moving along. There is a definite hard start and a hard finish to what you're doing. So it becomes this mental mind game of how do you repeat, you have a certain level of talking points. How do you keep repeating those? But how do you keep the show moving along as well too? All of these is a whole bunch of energy. And if you think about it, we do the same thing in the salon with our clients. Client walks in, she wants a haircut. For example, you shampoo her, you take her back to the chair, you cut her hair, you blow dry, you style it, you promote her some retail. Hopefully you're rebooking her, you send her off, next client, rinse and repeat, right? So we're doing the same show in essence on every single person, every single time, every single day. What changes? The filler conversation, the little downtime that I would have had on stage with the client, it's, hey, how you doing? Or, oh, fancy the weather today? Or, did you see that game last night? I don't know, whatever the conversation is, right? But it changes from person to person. But either way, the same talking points remain. How are you liking your hair? How are you maintaining it? Why does it feel like crap? Why does it feel really good? Or you're doing a really good job or you're doing a really bad job. You have to adjust. Those are the same talking points that we keep doing. I'm doing your hair like this so we can achieve the style you want, and fill in the gaps with that one. You need this retail because, you need to rebook because this date is coming up. Those are all the same talking points all the time. So even as an individual stylist, if you're not an educator, you're not a show person, you're not a stage person. I've had a lot of stylists tell me I get so nervous to talk in front of people. But that's just a big audience. That's a bigger crowd. And I'm going to tell you, there is no, I don't know, in my opinion, there is no difference talking to one person or talking to 100 people. You're still talking. I actually find it easier to talk to bigger crowds because you can't focus on one individual person. You're just talking to a huge audience and you're kind of looking towards the back of the room to make it look like you're looking at everybody. You make a little bit of eye contact here and there with people, but you're not focusing on one person the entire time, watching them evaluate you, watching them watching you back. It's like looking in a weird mirror, but it's not you. When you're talking to one person, you really got to focus on that one person and make sure that one person is okay the entire time you're talking to them. So in actuality, as a stylist working behind the chair who doesn't do education and doesn't do shows, you actually have it harder, in my opinion. Now, coming to the show, for example, the American Hair Loss Council weekend, that we're going to be in Charlotte this weekend doing this hair loss show. There is, we have our booth, and at our booth, people will come by for the purpose of curiosity. They want to see who we are, what we do, and why we're doing what we're doing. There's going to be people that have a specific purpose that are looking for us. We know these guys are the hair extension guys, the hair replacement guys. We need to speak to them. We have questions. We've seen the two guys chat. We've been to prior education. We already use your product, or we were recommended or referred by another stylist or another professional in the industry to come check you guys out, right? Then there is the breakout rooms, what we call breakout rooms, which are the education rooms. They're not on the main floor. They're down the hall, and they're specifically designed 100% to focus on education. So the stylists that are sitting there are wanting to learn a specific technique. They're looking for specific information on what we are presenting. It's a little more quiet because it's that, it's not the show floor, so you don't have the noise of everybody with the hustle and bustle walking around and talking to each other and things like that. It's a specific topic, so you're focusing on that one thing that you want to learn about. There's multiple rooms going simultaneously. So you go to one room, you see what they have to offer, you gather your information, you learn that. After that room is done, you go to the next room, the next topic starts on something else, you learn something else, and then you go to the next one and the next one. So it's a whole day of nonstop. I don't know if this is the right thing to say or not, but it's like going to the movie and you get there at the morning and you watch that show, and then you stay and watch another show, and then you stay and watch another show, and you're just there all day watching movies, and you're having a grand old time, right? Popcorn not included. So It's like that, except you're allowed to do this. We actually encourage you to do this. Just go from one room to the next room to the next room and keep watching shows. It's how you keep yourself motivated, it's how you don't get burned out. Now, from the client side of things, what an opportunity. Imagine walking into the salon, sitting down, and receiving services. And you ask your stylist, how are you doing? Or how long have you been in the industry? Or, what's the current trend going on? Or do you think this look would be good for me, right? I have this picture and this is, I saw this and it looked amazing. Can I pull this look off? Imagine if your stylist says to you, you know what, madam? Actually, I was at a show this last weekend and I learned all about this, and I knew about it already, but now it really reinforced what I know. Or I just discovered something completely new. I've learned something else. I keep up on my education all the time. Absolutely, yes, you can do this. Or you know what? You can't do it this way, but you can do it like this. Imagine listening to a stylist say something like that to you. How more comfortable will you feel? How much more impressed would you be? As a client myself, as a customer myself, when I go to places and I have questions, and the person taking care of me, whether there's a specialist or the service department, or even a salesperson, if I'm shopping, I want to buy something, right? It's the world of difference when I ask a question and the person taking care of me responds with, yeah, I know this because, or you know what? I know, let me get somebody who knows this because they specialize, they go to these shows, they go to these educations. There's been so many times at the salon that I'm at, one of the other stylists will say, you know what? That's a great question. I'm going to get Eddie to come over here and talk with us as well too, because he's an educator, or because I know he teaches these classes, or because I know he studies, he's a nerd. We're going to bring him over here. He's going to be able to answer your questions way better, way more. As it goes, that's the kind of level of stylist that you want to find, being the customer, being the client. You want to go to a salon who's keeping up on things. You don't want to be going to a salon that's ultra stale, been doing the same thing for 20, 30 years, and they never change anything. You can, that just means you're comfortable. That just means, you're comfortable, you're set in your ways, you get in, you get out. And if that works for you, then that's fine, right? But this is the profitable stylist. And we're talking about helping stylists succeed. And in order for stylists to succeed, their clients have to succeed. And in order for their clients to have to succeed, their stylists need to be educated. They need to be on top of things in order to help their clients be educated and be on top of things, which means they should be able to style their hair, maintain their hair, and enjoy their look, be fashionable, and want to be even more fashionable. And they want to use you as that main resource, or at least one of their main go-to resources. That's what a hairdresser is. That's what a hairstylist is. It's not just about the technicality of cut and coloring, or putting hair extensions, or replacing, hair systems, hair pieces. It's about completing a total look, so that this way your self-confidence levels is high, your motivation is high, your self-image is strong, and you go out there into the world with this I rule you attitude, I kick butt attitude, then you will achieve in life. Then you come back to the stylist more. You've got other like-minded clients coming back to that same stylist more. That stylist, now you as the stylist, you've got a full book, and it's a productive full book that is making you profits. You become a profitable stylist yourself. You're a six-figure income stylist. However many six figures, and that's even better too. Why not? And more, 7, 8 figures. Why not? All of those is possible. There is no limit. I love what Bernard said. It was either last week or the week before. He was saying, where is the ceiling? And why does there have to be a ceiling? There is no ceiling. If you think you made it to the top, hang it up. You're done. You should just always be trying to achieve for more and more and more. And that's what a lot of these educational events are for. We have the Profitable Stylist Academy for such a purpose. Some of you are not physically able to get in on the weekends that we have our shows or that we have our educational events. Then we have those videos that are made on there so that you can watch those on demand at your leisure. Yeah. We do these lives every week so that this way we can keep you up to date with the most important information that we can figure out, depending on whatever topic it is week to week. Hell, at Here's the Bling, at the distributor that I'm at, we do education Sunday through Thursday. Sometimes I even rebook my clients and I come in on a Friday because whenever somebody wants education. I mean, it's no joke. I've taught classes starting at 7, 8 o'clock at night, and we've gone all the way to midnight. And then we're like, hey, it's midnight. Let's go get a drink. And then we're out in the bar till 2 o'clock in the morning, still just discussing. Nobody wants to go home because they're that excited. Now, I'm wiped out. The next morning, I'm like dragging my butt, but it was worth it. Worth it. 10 out of 10 would do it again, right? Total freaking worth it. It is so exciting to be able to say stuff like that because it's freaking awesome. So that's my recap. Look and Learns, educational classes. Zoom is still a thing too, or what do you call it? Yeah, online, virtual education is still a thing. However, whichever way you can get your education, that's what it's about. All right. And this weekend, that's what we're going to be streaming. Bernard and I are going to be just showing you the energy level of what real education is about, especially when it's in person and especially when it's around like-minded, motivated stylists who want to become profitable. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hit us up, like I always say every week. Hit us up in the comments or reach out to us and we'll get in touch with you directly. And for those of you that are going to be at the Hair Loss Convention in Charlotte, we look forward to seeing you. Please stop by and say hi. And we'll go from there. We'll catch you all. Well, we'll catch you all basically, tomorrow, this weekend, and next.